His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Furniture, Beauty Furniture, Jaguru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gantra Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Jai Gaur Premanande. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto number 4, Chapter number 8, titled Dhruva Maharaj Leaves Home. Text number 62. Iti uktastam Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Iti uktastam pratikramya. Iti uktastam parikramya. Pranam yacha niparbakaha. Pranam yacha niparbakaha. Yayo madhuvanam punyam. Yayo madhuvanam punyam. Hares charana charchitam. Hares charana charchitam. Iti uktastam pratikramya. Pranam yacha niparbakaha. Yayo madhuvanam punyam. Hares charana charchitam. Iti uktastam parikramya. Pranam yacha niparbakaha. Yayo madhuvanam punyam. Hares charana charchitam. Mataji's. Word for word translation. Iti thus, ukta, being spoken, tam, him, Narada Muni, pratikramya, by circumambulating, pranamya, by offering obeisances, cha, also, nipa arbakaha, the boy of the king, yayo, went to, Madhuvanam, a forest in Vrindavan, known as Madhuvan, Punyam, which is auspicious and pious, Harehe, of the Lord, Charana Charchitam, imprinted by the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Translation. When Dhruva Maharaj, the son of the king, was thus advised by the great sage Narada, he circumambulated Narada, his spiritual master, and offered him respectful obeisances. Then he started for Madhuvan, which is always imprinted with the lotus footprints of Lord Krishna, and which is therefore especially auspicious. There's no purport, we'll go to next text. Text number 63. Tapovanam gatetasmin pravisto antapuram muni arhitar hanako rajna sukhasina uvachatam. After Dhruva entered Madhuvan forest to execute devotional service, the great sage Narada thought it wise to go to the king to see how he was faring within the palace. When Narad Muni approached, the king received him properly, offering him due obeisances. After being seated comfortably, Narada began to speak. Text number 64. Narada vacha Rajan kim dhyayase dirgam mukhena parisusyata kim vana risyate kamo dharmo vartena samyutaha. The great sage Narada inquired, My dear king, your face appears to be withering up, and you look like you have been thinking of something for a very long time. Why is that? Have you been hampered in following your path of religious rites, economic development, and sense gratification? Purport. The 4 stages of advancement of human civilization are religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and for some, the stage of liberation. Narad Muni did not inquire from the king about his liberation, but only regarding the state management, which is meant for advancement of the 3 principles: religiosity, economic development, and sense gratification. Since those who engage in such activities are not interested in liberation, Narada did not inquire from the king about this. Liberation is meant for persons who have lost all interest in religious, ritualistic ceremonies, economic development, and sense gratification. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chaksulmritam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So continuing our discussion from the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter number 8. Dhruva Maharaj leaves home. So today we have 3 verses, texts 62, 63 and 64. So I thought we can do one by one the verses. So I'll read the translation for 62 again. When Dhruva Maharaj, the son of the king, was advised by the great sage Narada, he circumambulated Narada, his spiritual master, and offered him respectful obeisances. Then he started for Madhuvan, which is always imprinted with the lotus footprints of Lord Krishna, and which is therefore especially auspicious. So, just now, Narad Muni has finished giving his instructions on to Dhruva Maharaj, and now Narad Muni is going to leave, and as we'll see in the next verses, Narad Muni is now going to go and see the king back in the palace. And after Narad Muni finishes his instructions and leaves Dhruva Maharaj alone, Dhruva Maharaj, he then heads off towards Madhuvan, one of the forests of Vrindavan, on the banks of Mother Yamuna, as instructed by his spiritual master Narad Muni. So it's interesting here, it's given the description of Madhuvan. Madhuvan is described as that place which is always imprinted with the lotus footprints of Lord Krishna. And therefore it's always very auspicious. So just like, every town or every city, they have one landmark, something by which it's described, or which is very famous for like For example, when you take Sydney, everyone thinks of the Opera House or the Harbour Bridge. If you think of Paris, you think of the Eiffel Tower. You think of India, you think of Taj Mahal and all the temples, so on and so forth. So every city, every town is known by a certain landmark, certain attraction. So what is the main attraction of Vrindavan? The way the Bhagavatam describes Vrindavan, the main attraction or the landmark or the glories of Vrindavan is that Vrindavan is that place which is always imprinted with the lotus footprints of Krishna. Hares Charana Charchitam. So Vrindavan is that place which is always imprinted with the lotus footprints of Krishna. So Krishna is there in Vrindavan and Krishna is also there in Mathura and Dwarka. But there is a difference. Krishna in Dwarka, he wears slippers, he wears shoes. But Krishna in Vrindavan, he doesn't wear any slippers, he doesn't wear shoes. So therefore, he puts his bare feet on the ground of Mother Earth, on the ground of Vrindavan. So therefore, Krishna's lotus footprints, they get imprinted throughout the whole area of Braj. So that's why Vrindavan is very, very special. Directly the dust of the lotus feet of Krishna is all over Vrindavan. Whereas in Dwarka, Mathura, Krishna, he wears shoes or slippers. So that is one of the unique glories of Vrindavan. There is one pastime regarding why Krishna doesn't wear shoes in Vrindavan. It's this pastime comes in the Leela of Gopastami. So Krishna, he goes through different age groups. The first age group is 0 to 5, next age group is 5 to 10, then 10 to 15. And then Krishna, eternally, he stays as a 16-year-old young boy or a teenager. So it's said that when Krishna is progressing from the first age group to the second age group, when he's going from 5 to 6, at that time, he graduates, so he gets the cowherd boys, they get the privilege to herd the cows or to herd the calves. So just like in Australia, once one goes past the age of 16, they can go out and get a driver's license, right? So in the same way, in the cowherd village of Vrindavan, the age of 5 or the age of 6, that's like the benchmark, After you cross this age, you can go and herd the cows or the calves. So it's Janmashtami day, Krishna has turned 6 years old, and now he's ready, to, just like here, when teenagers, they turn 16, they immediately go to their parents, and they ask their parents, okay, now I'm 16, can I drive the car, can I learn how to drive? So in the same way, Krishna, he goes to Mother Yasoda, Nanda Maharaj, today is my birthday, I've turned 6 years old, it's time, can I be a Gopa, can I go and herd the cows? Now is the time. And Mother Yasoda and Nanda Maharaj, they're a bit hesitant, like Krishna is their dear most beloved, their dear most treasure. They're a bit hesitant. They're worried, what will happen to Krishna in the forest, so many dangerous animals. And Mother Yasoda, like this. So they have a little bit of discussion. Mother Yasoda and Nanda Maharaj, they're a bit hesitant, and Krishna is very eager, enthusiastic to go out. Then finally Mother Yasoda tells Krishna, okay, you can go, but you have to wear slippers. I'm going to make some slippers for you. You wear these slippers, you wear these shoes, and you go out in the forest. Otherwise, your soft lotus feet, you will get hurt by all the stones, rocks, pebbles, twigs, thorns in the forest. So it said that Krishna's transcendental body was so soft, it's given in Nectar Devotion, that if you just take a newly grown leaf, just a newly grown, soft leaf, and you just touch it to the body of Krishna, immediately the color of Krishna's skin will change actually. For us, if you want to make the color of our skin change, then you have to really put pressure, really press down, and then you'll see change in color. But it said Krishna's body is so soft, just like butter, that you just take a newly grown leaf and you just touch Krishna like that, immediately you see a change of color in his body. So that's how soft Krishna's body is. So Mother Yasoda, she can't bear for Krishna to go out in the forest without wearing slippers. So she says, okay, you go, but I'm going to make some slippers for you, shoes, you wear these shoes and go. And Krishna immediately, he refuses. Why? Krishna, he tells Mother Yasoda that we're all gopas, we're all cowherd men or boys, and our duty is to serve the cows. So that means the cows are our master, and we are their servants. So if my master, the cows, if they're not wearing shoes, how can I wear shoes? How can the servant wear shoes while the master is not wearing shoes? So I'm not going to wear shoes. Like this Krishna tells Mother Yasoda. So this is the mood of Krishna. The cows are so dear to Krishna, and that Krishna, he names his very own planet after the cows. The topmost spiritual planet is called Goloka Vrindavan. Vrinda refers to Tulsi Marni, and Go refers to cows. So Goloka literally means the planet of the cows. So the topmost spiritual planet is named after cows and Tulsi Marni. So this is how dear Tulsi Marni and cows are to Krishna. So Krishna, in this way, he tells Mother Yasoda that the cows are a master. My master is not wearing shoes. So how can I wear shoes? I'm not going to wear shoes. So this is Krishna's mood in Vrindavan. He sees himself as just the servant of the cows. Then what to speak of us? It's said that when Krishna he used to go for cow herding, the cows, he would let the cows go in front. So that is like the proper etiquette, So like you see Maharajas or sannyasis, when they will travel with a personal servant, the particular Maharaja sannyasi, they will first go, and the servant will follow behind them, just ready for any instructions or ready for any service. So the servant never goes in front of the master, leading the master. So the master always goes at the front, and the servants and the entourage, they're just behind the master, ready to offer any service for the master. So in the same way, Krishna in this mood, he will go for cow herding. He will keep all the cows at front, and he will be behind, as their humble servant to serve the cows. And then it's given that as the cows are walking ahead of him, Krishna has hundreds and thousands of cows, then what naturally happens? The dust of Vrindavan, it rises up. So many cows, stomping on the ground. So the holy dust of Vrindavan, from the lotus feet of the cows, it rises up. And then Krishna is walking, and the dust from the lotus feet of the cows comes and touches Krishna's face. And it's given Krishna, when he feels the dust coming from the lotus feet of the cows touching his face, he feels so blessed, and he feels so purified, and he feels great ecstasy to have the dust of the lotus feet of his dear cows coming and going over his face. So this is how much Krishna loves his cows. This is how much he respects Gomata. So how much more should we worship the cows? How much more eager should we be to serve the cows? So in this way, Krishna tells Mother Yasoda, I won't wear slippers. So this is the reason. Why in Vrindavan? Krishna, he doesn't wear slippers or shoes. Then it's given that this argument, it continues on for many months. So for many months, Krishna is unable to convince Mother Yasoda to give him the license to go out and cow herding. Just like someone will turn 16, they'll ask their parents, okay, let me drive the car, mom or dad, I want to learn how to drive. But the parents, they're hesitant. You're only 16, you're just a young guy or young girl, you'll crash the car, I'm not going to let you go. Wait till you're 18, after you finish your HSC, after you go to uni, then we'll let you drive. Okay, wait for 2 more years, we're not going to let you drive. And then the teenager will have arguments with the parents, and finally he'll convince the parents. So same thing happens in Vrindavan. So for many months, or for a few months, this argument goes on between Mother Yasoda and Krishna. Krishna is telling Mother Yasoda, no, please let me go, please let me go. Mother Yasoda says, no, you wear slippers, then only you go. Otherwise, I'm not letting you go. So like this, the argument goes. Then finally, Krishna is able to convince Mother Yasoda. Krishna tells Mother Yasoda that, okay, I will wear slippers, but only on one condition. I'll wear slippers if you make slippers for all my cows, and you put these slippers on all the cows. If all the cows have slippers, and they wear slippers, then I'll also wear slippers. Then Mother Yasoda thinks, Krishna has, this many cows, like 1 million or 900,000 cows. 900,000 times, each cow has 4 legs. 4 times 900,000, that's like 3.6 million shoes. To make so many shoes for all the cows, okay, that's not possible. And then like this, the argument goes, then finally Mother Yasoda, Nanda Maharaj, they submit to Krishna. Okay, fine, you can go. So that's why Gopastami, which is the day when Krishna gets to herd the cows, it happens few months after Janmastami. Technically, Gopastami should happen on Janmastami, right? Because that's the day when he turns 6 years old. So technically, Gopastami should be on the day of Janmastami, but on the day of Janmastami, Krishna is unable to convince his parents. And only after a few months, he is able to convince his parents. So that's why Gopastami falls a few months after Janmastami, during Kartik Mas. And when the cows of Vrindavan, they hear this, that how much love Krishna has for us. Just for our sake, he's not wearing shoes. They become so much moved by emotion. And on that very day, it's mentioned that the cows of Vrindavan, they go all around Vrindavan and they start stomping on all the pebbles and big rocks of Vrindavan, and they flatten the whole surface of Vrindavan, they flatten with their own hooves. And they stomp the ground so much, all the rocks, pebbles, stones, they make into very fine dust. So when Krishna goes out with them, his feet, his lotus feet, won't be hurt by the rocks and the stones around Vrindavan. So that's why I said that the holy dust of Vrindavan is created by Gomata, because of all the cows of Vrindavan, because they all went out and stomped on all the rocks and pebbles. That's why we have the very fine dust of Vrindavan. It said that the mercy in Sri Mayapur Dham is in the kirtan, in singing and dancing. And the mercy on Sri Jagannath Puri Dham is in the Mahaprasad of Lord Jagannath. And the mercy in Sri Vrindavan Dham is in the holy dust of Vrindavan. And that holy dust of Vrindavan is given to us by Mother Cow. Because of her going out and stomping on the ground, transforming all the stones and pebbles into very fine dust, we have the holy dust of Vrindavan. So like this is the pastime of one of the pastimes regarding why Krishna doesn't wear slippers in Vrindavan. Because his master, the cows, they don't wear slippers, so Krishna says, I also won't wear slippers. Now, another point regarding this, Krishna's lotus footprints, if we go to Krishna book, if we go to Kaliya Leela, it's given that one time Krishna, he went to play with his cowherd boyfriends. He went towards the Yamuna. And this day he didn't go with Balram. Balram stayed back. I think the reason was that it was Balram's birthday. So Mother Rohini, she said, today is your birthday, you have to stay back home, you have to do certain ceremonies, rituals, you have to give in charity, so on and so forth. So on this particular day, Balram, he didn't go. And Krishna had gone off. And this is the time when the Kaliya Leela happens. So after fast forwarding, after Krishna dives into the Kaliya lake, it's given that when Krishna dives into the Kaliya lake and he's swimming underwater, by his swimming strokes, it's given that a very sweet musical sound got produced underwater actually. So this is how expert Krishna is. Just by his swimming and splashing around the water, a very sweet musical sound gets created. So as the pastime goes forward, Kaliya, he wraps Krishna. Kaliya bites Krishna on the chest, he wraps him in his coils. And then when all the gopas, young gopas, they see this, they all faint unconscious. And all the cows and the calves, they start mourning in lamentation that Krishna's wrapped around in the coils of Kaliya. At this time, the elderly gopas and gopis back in Vrindavan, back in the homes, they see many bad omens. They see bad omens in the sky. What are the bad omens in the sky? They see meteors, falling in the sky. And they see bad omens on the earth. The earth is starting to tremble. There's like many earthquakes happening. And then they see bad omens around them in different living entities. They see different people or Vrajavasis, their body is shivering. And they see the left side of the Vrajavasis is twittering or shivering also. So by seeing all these bad omens, immediately all the Vrajavasis, they immediately remember Krishna. That, oh no, our dear Krishna, he must be in trouble. Today he has gone to play without his elder brother Balram. Balram is not there to protect him, he has gone off alone. And we're seeing all these bad omens, definitely something is inauspicious is happening, Krishna might be in trouble. Immediately, everyone in Vrindavan, they think of a dear Lord Krishna. Then immediately they rush to find Krishna. And how do they find Krishna? It's given in Krishna book or in Bhagavatam that they follow the footprints of Krishna. Now, one question that comes up is when Krishna is going out to play, he's not going alone. He's going with millions of cowherd boyfriends, and each cowherd boyfriend has, thousands and thousands of cows. Krishna himself has thousands and thousands of cows. So as Krishna is going with these millions of cowherd boys, as Krishna is going with these millions of cows, and he's walking, he puts his footprints on the ground. Wouldn't one of these cows or one of these cowherd boyfriends go over these footprints? And his footprints, naturally you would expect that his footprints would be erased, right, from the surface. Like he'll walk, then some cow will come, or some animal will come, or some other gopa will come, step on his footprints. So like this, you would expect that his footprints would disappear. So how is it that his footprints are still there, and the cowherd men and the cowherd ladies are able to follow his footsteps to the Kaliya lake? So the Acharyas, they explain that in Vrindavan, the Vrajavasis, they love Krishna so much, and they worship Krishna's lotus footprint so much that for them, Krishna's lotus footprint is like the greatest treasure in this world. And no one in Vrindavan ever dares to touch or to walk over Krishna's footprints. So wherever Krishna would walk, no cow, no living entity, no animal, no gopa, no gopi would ever walk over it. They would carefully preserve those beautiful lotus footprints of Krishna. And they would worship that. This is the most treasurable, dear lotus footprints of our dear Lord. So that's why, so you can just imagine, although there's so many cows and gopas and gopis in Vrindavan, no one would ever, walk over it, or they'll be very careful not to smudge or, wipe out the lotus footprints of Krishna. So that's why wherever you go in Vrindavan, you'll see, the holy lotus footprints of Krishna. So this is how much the Vrajavasis, they love Krishna. They worship Krishna's lotus footprints so much, no one would ever dare touch. So that's how it's given, the Acharyas explain, that those lotus footprints of Krishna going from Vrindavan to Kaliya lake were still present, and that's how the Vrajavasis, they were able to locate where Krishna had gone during that day, by following those lotus footprints. Next point we can discuss is what are the symbols on Krishna's lotus feet, which gets imprinted in the ground of Vrindavan. So anyone can share certain symbols which are there in Krishna's lotus feet? Okay, conch shell. So conch shell, it's given, represents auspiciousness or victory. So by meditating on Krishna's lotus feet, one can always be victorious, and one invokes auspiciousness in their spiritual life. Okay, any other? Yes. Umbrella, yes. So there's an umbrella on Krishna's lotus feet. So what does the umbrella represent? When do we take umbrella? When we want to shade ourselves, protect ourselves from rain. So it's given, if we take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, then Krishna's lotus feet acts like umbrella, which protects us from the miseries of material existence. So that is the significance of the umbrella on Krishna's lotus feet. Okay. Yes, so there is it's called elephant gourd, which means it's like a stick. So if you've been to India or some Asian countries, you'll see there'll be a person riding an elephant, and that person will have a stick in his hand, which he uses to tame or control the elephant. By using that stick, he can control that elephant. So there's an elephant stick, or elephant gourd, I think it's called, that is there on Krishna's lotus feet. So what does that represent? It said that our mind is like a big, fat elephant. Elephant is like so huge, so big. We can never, you imagine there's a big elephant in this room, None of us can control that elephant, It's like so big and huge. We're like so tiny and small. We're like so insignificant in comparison to an elephant that we have no match. So it said our mind is like an elephant. That our mind is so big and so ruthless, so strong. As Krishna says, in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, or it's not Krishna, Arjuna. Krishna is telling Arjuna about the process of yoga, Ashtanga yoga. And Arjuna tells Krishna that, this Ashtanga yoga process is too hard for me, Krishna. My mind is so obstinate, it's so stubborn, it's so powerful, it's so restless, it's so fickle-minded that to subdue the mind, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind. So that's why the example of elephant is given. So our mind is like a big fat elephant. We stand no chance. It's very, very hard to control. On our own strength, we can't control the elephant. So that stick used for controlling the elephant, which is on Krishna's lotus feet, represents that if we can meditate on Krishna's lotus feet, then by the strength of that meditation, we'll be able to control our elephant-like mind. Okay, thank you. Mathura Prabhu, you can share one. Sorry, can you say? Oh, thunderbolt, okay. So there is a thunderbolt on Krishna's lotus feet. So thunderbolt represents that it's said Indra, he has a thunderbolt, right? And it's given in Shastra that Indra, he uses this thunderbolt against mountains. Prabhupada explains that previously, in previous ages, mountains, they could fly. And mountains had wings. And Prabhupada says that when mountains would fly, then after some time they have to land. And when they would land, they would kill, many living entities and cause problems, to people on earth. So these mountains were creating some problems, flying here and there. So Indra, to stop these mountains flying around, what Indra does, with his thunderbolt, he cuts off the wings of these mountains. So in this way, Shastra explains that the thunderbolt of Indra is used to subdue the mountains. So in the same way, it's said that in our hearts, there's like mountains and mountains of sins we have done, all accumulated from millions and billions of lifetimes. So from billions and billions of lifetimes, we have accumulated mountains and mountains full of sins. And the only way to destroy this mountain of sins is by meditating on Krishna's lotus feet. And then by the thunderbolt, which is on Krishna's lotus feet, the mountain of sins in our hearts can be completely destroyed. Any other symbols? Lotus, yes. So lotus again represents auspiciousness, and also it represents that, just like bees, they're always after the honey in lotus. So in the same way, Krishna's devotees, they're always greedy to drink the nectar of Krishna's lotus feet. Another one I like is there's like a octagon or like a 8-pointed star on Krishna's lotus feet. And that 8-pointed star, it represents that if someone meditates on Krishna's lotus feet, he will be protected from all 8 directions. He will have security and protection from all 8 directions. Another significance of the 8-pointed star is, if someone meditates on Krishna's lotus feet, then he can conquer in all 8 directions. So one will be victorious in any direction he goes, in all 8 directions. So either it can mean that one will be protected from all 8 directions, or one can conquer in all the 8 directions. One will have victory in all the 8 directions. And then there is a line going up. It's called Udva Rekha in Krishna's lotus feet. There's just one line going up like that. That's like one of my favorite. That line represents, just like, when someone is, drowning in the ocean or something, a helicopter will come and they will, push down put down a rope, by which one can grab and then get lifted up, safe from the water. So that line the line going up, that represents that if we hold on to Krishna's lotus feet, we will get free from this ocean of material existence and we'll go back home, back to Goloka. So you can imagine Krishna coming in a helicopter and putting down his lotus feet. Here, grab onto my lotus feet. And if we grab onto his lotus feet, then he'll pull us up to Goloka Vrindavan, away from the ocean of material existence. So like this, there's I think 19 different symbols given in Krishna's lotus feet. It's very nice to meditate on. So each symbol has a particular significance. I think we covered maybe half of it. We can go through it another time. So in this way, Madhuvan is described in this sloka. So just like different cities, they have their landmarks, they have their special point of attraction. The special point of attraction for Vrindavan or Madhuvan is that Madhuvan is that place where one can see the lotus footprints of Krishna. So that's why Madhuvan is glorified. Okay, we'll go to text number 63. After Dhruva entered Madhuvan forest to execute devotional service, the great sage Narada thought it wise to go to the king to see how he was faring within the palace. When Narad Muni approached, the king received him properly, offering him due obeisances. After being seated comfortably, Narada began to speak. So Narad Muni now is saying he's left Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj is now going off to Madhuvan to perform tapasya. And now Narad Muni is thinking, okay, let me go see the king. Let's see how the king is doing. So when he enters the king's palace, the king very nicely receives him, gives him a nice seat of reception, washes his feet, offers obeisances, so on and so forth. So we'll see in Krishna book, Krishna doing similar things. Whenever great sages or rishis, they come to Dwarka, Krishna showing the example of an ideal householder, he'll do the same thing. That, there's a famous chapter where Narad Muni, he wants to see how Krishna has married so many queens, how Krishna has married 16,108 queens, how he's maintaining them. So Narad Muni, he goes to each and every one of those 16,108 palaces. And every time Narad Muni enters, Krishna, he gets down, offers obeisances, puts Narad Muni on his seat, washes his lotus feet, sprinkles the water on his head, like this he receives. So this is Vedic culture, that when a saintly person comes, one should offer him a seat of reception, one should wash his feet, and with the water which has washed that saintly person's feet, one should take that water and sprinkle on his head and on the head of all the family members. Then we'll go to text 64. The great sage Narada inquired, "My dear king, your face appears to be withering up, and you look like you have been thinking of something for a very long time. Why is that? Have you been hampered in following your path of religious rites, economic development, and sense gratification?" So after being received very nicely by the king, what's the king's name? Uttanapad, yes. So after being very nicely received by the king, Narad Muni, he then inquires. So Narad Muni is noticing that the king looks a bit morose, his face a bit grave and morose. Something is disturbing his mind. So it's said that the face is the index of the mind. By looking at someone's face, one can tell what's going on in their mind. Just like His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu, he says that when you go out to distribute books, the people out there, some will be ripe, some will be favorable, some will be unfavorable. And you just go out there and you try and distribute books to those who are favorable. So he gives the example of a tree, like a mango tree. And the mango tree, you have ripe mango and unripe mango. So when you go to pick fruits from a mango tree, which mango you will pick? You will naturally pick the mangoes which is ripe, mango which is very nice, orange or yellowish or golden in complexion. And the mango which is unripe, which is green and hard, you will leave it on the tree. And you'll wait for some time. When it ripens up, then you pick that mango. So just like when you approach a mango tree, you go for those mangoes which is ripe. In the same way, Vaisheshika Prabhu says, when you go on Sankirtan, you go for those souls who are ripe, or you go for those souls who are favorable, and you let the unfavorable souls go. In the future, when they become favorable, then we can go for them. Now the next question is, how can we tell who is favorable and who is unfavorable? How can we tell who is ripe and who is unripe? That's the next question, right? So for that, he uses another example. He says, we have to use a radar. Just like, you see these workers, they'll have some kind of metal detector or some kind of instrument, they will go around the ground, and when the detector, it starts beeping, beep, 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 then they know, okay, something is underground here, there's some metal or some structure or something is underground there. So he says you use a radar to judge who is favorable or unfavorable. So what is that radar? Prabhu explains that you raise up your hand like this, you use this hand as a radar, and you just wave at people and you smile. You make eye contact, smile, hi, 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 how are you? Hi, how's it going? And like this, you make eye contact, look at people, smile, and use the radar and wave at people. The person you wave at, the person you try to make eye contact and you smile at, if you see them smiling back, if you see them making eye contact with you, smiling back, and also making a positive response, then you know, okay, this guy is favorable. Then you go for him, or go for her, and you give them a book. If you're waving at someone, smiling, saying hi, and that person is just looking away, with like a, just completely ignoring you, walking away, then you know, okay, he's unfavorable, let him go. No point wasting your energy on him. So by looking at people's faces, Prabhu explains you can judge who is favorable and who is unfavorable. So the face is the index of the mind. So we use that on Sankirtan. By looking into the eyes of people, by looking into the faces of people, we can judge who is favorable and who is unfavorable. Then while the conversation is going, we'll do our presentation, we'll say different things. And then Prabhu explains, as you're making the presentation, you look at their faces and you see which point of your presentation is attracting them. Like when you say yoga, if you see their face light up, or when you talk about India, if you see their face light up, then you know, okay, that's their area of interest. Then you just go and talk about that point. If they're interested in yoga, you just go on talking about yoga. If they're interested in meditation, you just go on talking about meditation. So you find the area of interest, that's the weakness, and then you just hit on that point and you go for that. So all this one can judge just by looking at a person's face. So we can use the same thing on Sankirtan, Vaisheshika Prabhu says. Navinarad Prabhu, he says that, when we do Sankirtan, we should be like a samurai. What is the unique quality of samurai? A samurai is one who knows the weak point or the weakness of every individual. So he just finds the weak point and then he just smashes that person on that weak point. And Navinarad Prabhu, he says that Prabhupada, he was like this. So he says that if you listen to Prabhupada's conversations with, different reporters, Christian ministers, some so on and so forth, like in Science Self-Realization, there's one conversation between Prabhupada and a lieutenant, of New York. So Prabhupada had different conversation with so many different people from all walks of life. So Navinarad Prabhu says, if you listen to Prabhupada's conversations, the way the conversation will go, like this person will say something, Prabhupada will say something, person will say something, Prabhupada will say something. Like this, it will go back and forth at the start. Then Prabhupada will just find one weakness, one loose hole in that person's statement. Prabhupada will grab it, and the rest of the conversation will just be Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. The rest of the conversation will just be Prabhupada talking only. And the guy will just be there, just getting completely hammered and smashed by Prabhupada. So Navinarad Prabhu says that Prabhupada, he was like a samurai. He would just talk very casually with people. And in the course of the conversation, he would just find one weakness. Like, for example, with Christians, Prabhupada will always hammer on this point. Jesus said, thou shalt not kill. Why are you killing animals? Why are you maintaining slaughterhouses? Why aren't you following the instructions of your guru? Your guru said, thou shalt not kill. So like this, for every single point, every single person, he would just find one weakness. Once he finds the weakness, rest of the conversation, you'll only hear Prabhupada. Prabhupada won't let the other person speak, and he will just hammer that person again and again and again. So same way, Vaisheshika Prabhu, Navinarad Prabhu, they explain that when you talk and converse with people, you look at their faces and you see which point in your presentation, resonates with them. And once you find the area of interest, then you just go for it. You just talk or you make the conversation go in that direction. So the face is the index of the mind. So Narad Muni, by seeing the face of King Uttanapad, he is able to understand something is disturbing him. So that's why Narad Muni is inquiring. That, my dear king, your face appears to be withering up, and you look like you're thinking of something for a very long time. Why is that? And then he inquires, have you been hampered in following your path of religious rites, economic development, and sense gratification? So there is 4 things. There is dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Right? So these are ordinarily said to be the 4 aspirations of human life. But Narad Muni, when he inquires from the king, he doesn't mention the 4th one, moksha. He just asks him, is there any problem with your dharma? Is there any problem with your artha? Is there any problem with your kama? he doesn't inquire, is there any problem with your endeavors for moksha? Why is that? Prabhupada, he explains this point in Krishna book. In Krishna Leela, when Mother Rukmini, she sends a Brahmana messenger to Krishna with a love letter, with a love letter that, my dear Krishna, I've fallen in love with you, and that I've given my heart to you, I want to marry you, but unfortunately my brother, he's arranged my marriage to be done with Shishupal. The marriage is happening tomorrow. You please immediately come and rescue me. Just like a lion, just like what is meant for the lion, a jackal takes away. In the same way, this Shishupal, he's going to take me away. You please come and snatch away, just like a lion snatches away a deer. Same way, you please take me away and save me. So she sends this letter with a Brahmana messenger. When this Brahmana messenger arrives in Dwarka, you'll see Krishna, he will receive this Brahmana messenger in a similar way. As we're seeing, King Uttanapad do with Narad Muni. It's given that Krishna, he's seated on his golden throne in Dwarka, and immediately when he sees the messenger, Brahmana messenger, immediately Krishna gets off his golden throne, he gets that, offers obeisances, gets that Brahmana, and makes the Brahmana sit on his own throne. So this is how much, we heard about how much Krishna respects his cows. Now again we're hearing about how much Krishna respects Brahmanas, or devotees. That when a devotee comes, when a Brahmana comes, Krishna, he gets off his throne and he makes the Brahmana sit on his own throne. This is how much Krishna loves Brahmanas also. That's why he says, Nama Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitayacha. So Go represents cows and Brahmana represents Brahmanas. So Krishna is that person to whom cows and Brahmanas are very much dear. Now one question someone might have, okay, Krishna very much loves cows and Krishna very much loves Brahmanas. But out of the two, which one Krishna loves more? Right? That question might come up. So in one lecture, Prabhupada says, of the two, cows and Brahmanas, Krishna loves cows more. And that's why it's Go Brahmana Hitayacha. Go comes first. Go means cows. Then comes Brahmanas. So of the two, Krishna, he loves cows even more. So this Brahmana messenger comes, Krishna gets off his golden throne, makes the Brahmana sit on his own throne, washes his lotus feet, and gives him food, nice prasad to eat. Then after the Brahmana has taken prasad, after prasad you feel a little heavy, you just want to lie down and just relax. So then after this Brahmana had nice meal, Krishna takes him, to a bed, nice, bedroom, makes the Brahmana lie down and relax, so he can digest the prasad. And then the Brahmana is nicely relaxing. Then as the Brahmana is relaxing, Krishna very humbly comes up to the Brahmana, takes his lotus feet and puts it on his own lap, and then Krishna very nicely starts massaging the lotus feet of this Brahmana messenger, by his own example showing how a king or a householder should receive a saintly guest or receive a sadhu. So then Krishna, as the Brahmana is nicely relaxing on the bed, he takes the Brahmana's feet, puts on his own lap, and then Krishna, he himself starts massaging the feet of this Brahmana messenger. And then, just like Narad Muni is inquiring from the king, in the same way, Krishna, he inquires from the Brahmana. That, my dear Brahmana, how is it going? How is your attempts at performing dharma going? How is your attempts at doing Vedic rituals going? Is your mind peaceful? Are you peaceful and happy? Like this Krishna inquires. In that section in Krishna book, Prabhupada explains that the etiquette is when you meet a person and you inquire regarding their well-being, your questions of well-being should be based on that person's occupation. It should be relevant to that person's occupation. So for a king who is in the prime of his youth, he'll be mainly interested only in dharma, artha and kama, in doing religious activities, in activities for sense gratification and in making money. A young king, liberation, that's not on his mind. That he will think about when he's in Vanaprastha, after the age of 50. So because liberation is irrelevant for King Uttanapad, that's why Narad Muni, Prabhupada explains, he doesn't ask regarding how is your endeavors for moksha going. Because that's not what's in the mind of the king. All his endeavors are just going towards dharma, artha and kama. Whereas with a brahmana, his as part of his occupation, he's supposed to be fully engrossed in doing all Vedic rituals, all Vedic religious rituals. And a Brahmana is supposed to be very peaceful and sadhu, supposed to be very santa. So that's why when Krishna inquires into the well-being of the Brahmana, he says, how is your religious activities going? Are you doing your religious duties nicely? And is your mind peaceful? So one of the primary qualities of a Brahmana is by doing Brahminical activities, he's supposed to be in mode of goodness, and he's supposed to have a peaceful mind. So that is the occupation of a Brahmana. So Krishna, in this instance, he's inquiring like this. Another example Prabhupada gives in Bhagavatam is that of Janak Maharaj. When Vishwamitra Muni, when he comes into the assembly hall of Janak Maharaj, again, the king Janak, he inquires into the well-being of Vishwamitra. And what does he ask? Does he ask, how's your dharma going? How's your karma going? How's your endeavors for sense gratification going? How is your artha going? How's your endeavors for getting money going? No. What does Janak Maharaj ask? Prabhupada writes in Bhagavatam, Janak Maharaj asks Vishwamitra Muni that, my dear sage, how are your endeavors to overcome the cycle of birth and death going? That's the question he asks. So he doesn't ask about dharma, he doesn't ask about artha, he doesn't ask about dharma, karma. He just directly asks about moksha only, because he knows this sage, he's like a pure devotee. That is the thing which is on the sage's mind, how to attain liberation, moksha. So he just directly asks about moksha only. My dear sage, how is your endeavors for overcoming the cycle of repeated birth and death going? Complete opposite to the question that Narad Muni is asking today. Narad Muni is asking King Uttanapad, how is your endeavors for dharma, artha and kama going? He doesn't mention moksha. Whereas when Janak Maharaj, he asks Vishwamitra Muni, he skips the first three, he only asks about moksha. He says, my dear sage, how is your endeavors for moksha going? So in this way, Prabhupada explains that when you have a conversation with a particular individual, the questions you ask that person should be related to their occupation. In that way, a nice conversation will flow. So that is a proper etiquette. So the same thing we're seeing here in today's verse, and Prabhupada is explaining this in the purport. Now regarding dharma, artha, kama and moksha, Prabhupada would always quote one famous verse by Bilva Mangal Thakur, in which Bilva Mangal Thakur, he explains that if one is a devotee, if one is practicing devotional service, then all these side things like dharma, artha, kama, moksha, they're all ready to serve the devotee. They're just side benefits he'll automatically get. A devotee doesn't have to separately endeavor for dharma, artha, kama and moksha. It will automatically come to him. Regarding artha or wealth, I was hearing from my Guru Maharaj recently. He was explaining that according to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, real wealth is three things, which is, number one, Krishna. Number two, Krishna's devotional service. And number three, love for Krishna. So according to Chaitanya Charitamrita, real wealth is Krishna, Krishna's service, and love for Krishna. If someone has these three things, he is very wealthy. So which means we're all actually quite wealthy. We have Krishna, we have Radha Gopinath, we have Krishna's service, right? We all have so many wonderful services we can do for Radha Gopinath. We can cook, we can clean, we can preach, we can distribute books, we can sing and dance, we can offer prayers, we can sing bhajans, we can do fundraising for the new temple, we can offer donations. So many different ways we have opportunity to serve Radha Gopinath. And number three, love for Krishna. All of us, we might not be pure devotees, but all of us, we have some love for Radha Gopinath. Otherwise, why would we here? Why would we come to temple? Why will we sing and dance in front of them? Why will we serve them? So we all have some love for Shri Radha Gopinath. So because we have Krishna, because we have Krishna's service, and because we have love for Krishna, we're all, according to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we're all actually wealthy. So real wealth, Mahaprabhu describes, is these three things. One who has these three things, he is the real wealthy person. So technically speaking, the real billionaires in this world is us, all the devotees of ISKCON. You have the Forbes list, of the richest persons in the world. You have like Elon Musk, Bill Gates, so on and so forth. According to Shastra, they're not the richest persons in the world. According to Shastra, if you do a real calculation of the richest persons in the world, you should have all the ISKCON devotees, in the top of the list, These are the real wealthy persons in this world. Because again, real wealth is three things: Krishna, Krishna service, and love for Krishna. One who has these three things, he is actually wealthy. So we can all feel a bit good about ourselves. We're actually the real billionaires in this world. We're the real wealthy persons. So next question is, if someone is wealthy, then they're supposed to give charity, right? Like in this Forbes list, they'll do, all these media people, they'll do calculations. This person, billionaire, has this much money and he's given this much in charity. This billionaire has that much money, he's given this much in charity. And if they find a particular billionaire who has so much wealth and has only given tiny bit in charity, then they'll start criticizing that billionaire, right? That just look at this billionaire, he has $50 billion. Out of $50 billion, only $500,000 he's given in charity. What a selfish guy, what a miserly guy. Like this, the whole media will talk about that billionaire. Just look at this guy, man. So much money, so selfish. Why does he need so much? He should give more in charity, right? So if a particular billionaire has a lot of money, but if he doesn't give a good amount in charity, then people criticize him. So in the same way, according to eyes of Shastra, we're actually the real wealthy people in this world. We're actually the real billionaires. And if we don't give the wealth we have in charity to others, then same way we are subject to criticism. Shastras criticize that we'll be considered as someone very miserly, we'll be considered as someone very selfish, and that is not good. And that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that I have made all of you billionaires by giving you Krishna, Krishna service, and love for Krishna. Now it is your duty as billionaires to go out there and give charity. Otherwise, you'll be considered as miserly and selfish. So that's why Mahaprabhu says, Yari Dekho Tariko, Krishna Upadesh, Amar Agna Guru Hoy Tarari Desh. Okay, we're over time. We'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jaguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Jai Gaur Premanande.